Joining us now is Bloomberg White House Correspondent Jeff Mason. He was at last night's dinner. He was a president in the past of the White House Correspondents Association. Jeff, great to see you. And I guess I should start just by asking you about the feeling in the room. We were all there at the first iteration of this dinner. Took place at the Washington Hilton, a giant ballroom. This was a much smaller affair, different affair. How much was the program last night duplicative of what was supposed to happen at that first dinner just a couple of months ago?
I think it was pretty close. In fact, the fact that, of course, the president spoke, the president of the association spoke, the awards were given to members of the press, and also student journalists were recognized for scholarships. And then there was the mentalist at the end as well. It was pretty much the program that was meant to have gone on in April, just 3 months later. And with the fact that that shooting stopped that dinner, that was overshadowing, I guess you could say, this dinner again. But in general, the program was the same, but the venue was smaller, and that was very noticeable, certainly for someone who's attended a bunch of dinners. The ballroom at the Hilton, of course, fits more than 2,000 people. It's the biggest ballroom in Washington. This one was, instead of about 2,600 people, there were fewer than 700 in the room. That doesn't mean it's small, but it's just a much more, I guess you could say, intimate size of a dinner, and that changed the mood in the room too. And we can talk a little bit more about this, but when the president spoke, I think that he also was speaking to what for him was an unusual crowd, in that most of the people in that room were journalists like myself, and it was not a friendly crowd for what ended up being very much like a rally speech.
That's an interesting point, Jeff, because, I mean, we attended the first dinner, and it is a huge ballroom, as you mentioned, and it's a mixed crowd because the journalists invite so many guests. You have entertainment people. You often invite people who are familiar or close to the White House. This is a much smaller room, and I imagine, you know, if he's used to speaking to a bigger crowd, it's harder when the audience is right in front of you and you can see some of those reactions. I mean, what were the reactions to jokes like, I'm assuming it was a joke, you know, running for a fourth term, and some of the other remarks? And then there were also, you wrote, a few awkward moments where awards were presented to journalists for being hard on this White House. How did the president react to that?
Yeah, I mean, to your first question first, the reaction were a lot of straight faces in the crowd, because that's our job, you know? I mean, I certainly was keeping a straight face, and I think so were most of the reporters in the room, who are committed to neutrally covering this president, and recognize that joke, as it were, of him running for what he called a fourth term is a joke about the Constitution, which of course prohibits him from running for another term when he's already served two, which he will have at the end of his second term now. But I mean, it's also again a quote unquote joke that is rooted in the fact that that's something that he was actively thinking about at the beginning of this term, and something that he has openly mused about before. I think right now it is a joke. I mean, he has stopped talking about it regularly, particularly after Speaker of the House Mike Johnson basically told him this is unconstitutional, and he seems to have accepted that. And so I think, you know, he likes to poke at the press with stuff like that, and that was one of the things that he did last night. Remind me your other question, Christina.
That's all right, Jeff. We can move on. I know you've had like 3 hours of sleep, so we're very grateful for you getting up. A friend of the show, Jeff Mason. We really appreciate you. David, go ahead.
Just a generous, I mean, there's been this, over the course of having this dinner, there's been a conversation about should it be smaller? Should it involve fewer celebrities, fewer members of the administration? I'm curious, as you experienced the dinner last night, did it give you a sense of maybe this is the way that it's headed? In light of the criticism most recently that it faced after that first dinner, how has the conversation about the longevity of this dinner changed, you know, in the context of the one that we had last night?
You know, I think the answer to that is still TBD. The incoming president of the association, Jackie Heinrich, who works for Fox News, announced that the dinner would be held again next year back at the Hilton. So that was certainly a foreshadowing by the association that they're not looking to keep the scaled down version as a model. But yes, you're not wrong to say that this sparked a lot of conversation, certainly about security at the Hilton and security for this event. event, but it also sparked some conversation within the press corps itself about this dinner more broadly. And it's, there are people who are big fans of this dinner in Washington, and there are people who aren't. And I imagine those conversations will continue.